Every summer Top 100. Every summer Top 100. He's got a voice that's really the bomb. He'll make a choice that'll aggravate Tom. I hate to spoil it, but when all's said and done, Merchant of Venus gonna be number one. Every summer Top 100. Yeah.
Hey, welcome back to the Top 100. A few folks have asked, what are the shelves that Eric uses in the game room? Those don't look like Kallax shelves. No, they're not. They are IKEA though. This is the Besta system. And what I really liked about the Bestas is that they come in 2-foot chunks. So you can work with whatever size you have. You don't have to go with just the 4x4s or 5x5s, whatever. And it also has adjustable shelves. You in fact buy the shelves separately so that you can put in as many as you want and position them however you want in like 1-inch increments. So this section has 5 shelves and larger games, but this one with smaller games has 7 shelves on it, and I can fit them pretty exact. I mean, look at that. Oh, so pretty with all the same size. Makes that board gamer brain really happy. Anyway, with about 15 inches deep, they fit just about everything on the shelf. The only thing that doesn't really fit is Giant Monopoly, which hangs over our heads like a sword of Damocles, just waiting for one errant kick to come down on us. Noted board gamer crushed by Giant Monopoly. It's a way to go. Anyway, numbers 80 to 71.
Number 80. Super Skill Pinball.
Jeff Engelstein set out to emulate the world of pinball in Super Skill Pinball. It is a roll and write game in which you're going to roll a pair of dice. In fact, just one player rolls for everybody. But everybody has their own little table, and you are maneuvering a little silver ball all around and trying to gauge it and guide the ball into different targets in order to score points and keep that ball active as long as possible. It really feels like pinball. There's lots of different tables for Super Skill Pinball. I think this is probably my favorite, maybe for obvious reasons, the Star Trek edition, but there's a couple of original sets. There's a holiday-themed one that I haven't had a chance to play. They're all a blast, and they all have different cool twists with each table, and it really does feel like pinball. Super Skill Pinball.
Number 79. Fort.
Number 79 is an adorable deck-building game called Fort. It's got the Kyle Farron art that another game in this set will have as well. It's just this adorable game about building forts, and in order to do so, you need toys and pizza somehow to build your forts. But in order to do that, you are creating a deck full of stuff that represent the friends you have acquired to hang out with you. You can not only do your own actions, but you can follow along with other people's actions. But there's also a twist that cards you don't use end up out in front of the yard, and you don't get them back because you didn't play with them. You didn't play with these friends, so they sit out there, and other people can draw them away from you if they pay for them and take them out of your deck, basically. So you don't get them back until the beginning of your next turn. It's an adorable game. There's an expansion that adds some pets. It is a lot of fun for fans of deck building. It has enough of a twist that it doesn't feel samey, and is, like I said, just adorable. Number 79, Fort.
Number 78. Time's Up.
Debuting at number 78, and you know what? I should probably grab the one down here too, is Time's Up, or Time's Up Title Recall. That's the older edition. This is the more recent printing of the game. Time's Up has an interesting path on my list. Even though this isn't that new a game, this is its first time on the list. When I first played a couple times of Time's Up, I wasn't quite that enamored. I think it just didn't quite land properly. But over subsequent plays, both with the Dice Tower crew and with family gatherings, it has really come into its own. Time's Up is a party game in which you're trying to get your team to guess various pop culture names, book titles, movie titles, that sort of thing. And in the first round, you can be as descriptive as you want. And in fact, you have to be, because you're just trying to get things across, including words and phrases that you don't know. You have to get your team to guess stuff that they might not be familiar with, however you need to do that. This is important because you then, for round 2, have to go through the same words and phrases, the same titles, the same stuff, except now you're only allowed to use one word. And in round 3, same thing, you can only use gestures. And you use those gestures and references that you have built through the first rounds of the game. It might have nothing to do with the thing that you're trying to convey. You might do a salute for something that isn't about any sort of military service or whatever, but that salute, as somebody's panicking and trying to get an idea across, becomes the clue for that word. It's hilarious, it's great group building, it's a really solid game, and it is a little surprising that it's debuting at number 78. Time's up.
Number 77. Azel.
You take Spanish.
Oh, it's Spanish? Oh, sorry. Number 77. Azul.
Azul just missed the list 3 years ago. It was number 104, but it's, 77 now. Azul is an abstract game where you are acquiring tiles, lovely, plastic, chunky tiles, and then putting them in your frame array. You've got sort of a stair-step pattern that you are trying to complete. So one row might only take 3 red tiles, but another row is going to take 4 or 5. And you're, of course, drafting these tiles with your opponents also grabbing those tiles, and whatever you don't take goes into the center, and then you can grab from the center, and there's rewards for doing so, or maybe you have to end up going first in the next round, but that's going to be a negative point, and anything you can't fit in your array is negative points because they drop on the floor, and you don't want to make a mess. The theme is pretty loose. It's an abstract game. But it is a beautiful game, well-produced game, and one that's working really well as a gateway game. My mom really enjoys playing Azul, which is why it's seeing more table time, and that's why it's number 77. Azul.
Number 76. Terraforming Mars.
Down to number 76 is Terraforming Mars. This is a game about terraforming Mars. You have a map that represents Mars, and you're trying to lay out tiles on it. You're trying to lay out the cards that you have in front of you. They give you special powers to allow you to collect resources more efficiently, to get money, to spend those and turn it into points, to put markers on those cards to earn you points, to claim water spaces, to claim buildings on the board, and basically outdevelop your opponents. It's a thinky one for sure, and I like the let's look at all these cards that I have in my hand and figure out how in the world I'm going to get to build most of them and make it all work. It's fallen a little bit, partially due to its sibling, which we'll get to, I believe. And it isn't hitting the table quite as often, but it is still such a solid tableau builder that it's sticking around on the list at number 76, Terraforming Mars.
Number 75, Stuffed Fables.
Also falling a good bit to number 75 is Stuffed Fables, another one of Jerry Hawthorne's fantastic storytelling games. This one streamlines the system that he created with Mice and Mystics. It uses a dice bag. You pull a certain number of dice from a bag, and those are the actions, the types of actions you're able to take on your turn, moving around, attacking, protecting, collecting items, all that stuff. The story here is adorable. You are a bunch of stuffed animals, and you are coming to life at night to protect your little girl, and going into a sort of a magical realm and trying to neutralize the threats that are, coming after her. It's a fantastic story, a blast to play with your kids. We have, however, finished it, and as I said with Mice and Mystics, these aren't hitting the table as often. It's still such a stellar game. The memories of playing this one I will treasure them forever. And I do, the reason Stuffed Fables is farther on the list than Mice and Mystics is just it's a more streamlined system. I think the art's a little brighter. It just hit stronger with both of my kids. Just a solid game. Still at number 75, Stuffed Fables.
Number 74, Turing Machine.
Debuting at number 74 is the logic game Turing Machine. This uses a series of punch cards to get the players to guess a particular rule by submitting a 3-digit code into a particular rule possibility and seeing what comes out. It is a fascinating system. It almost works better as a cooperative game, especially at higher difficulty levels, to try and discuss the logic that goes into these. But at its core, it's a race to see who can figure out the rule most efficiently. At lower levels, it works very well that way. I think it's possible to get a little lost in those upper levels. I have not done any of the online levels yet. There's a ton of those, just virtually infinite number of those puzzles. In Turing Machine, it is a blast to play, a very thinky game, and you need to really be sort of a logic nut to go for it. But I'm very much enamored with Turing Machine, number 74.
Number 73. Orleans. Orléans?
It's French.
What?
Orléans has fallen a little bit on my list. Let's see, last time I did Orléans, it was 33. So it's fallen a good amount. Again, haven't been able to play as often as I used to. It used to hit the table a lot. But Orléans is a bag building game. Where you are acquiring workers of different varieties. You start out with sort of a general arrangement of them and pulling them out from a bag, which allows you to trigger certain actions and then acquire more of these workers, which then can push your strategy in a particular direction. Well, maybe I need more of the yellow workers or the brown workers. And so I'm putting more of those in my bag. They're going to come out more often, and I can sort of do the actions that I want to do more often in the game. Eventually, I can start culling them by sending them off to that final scoring board in the sky and get rid of some of those from my bag, further tuning my bag to do what I want it to do. I actually prefer the cooperative version of Orléans. I know it's an expansion. It's not right out of the box in the base game, playing cooperatively, but I do enjoy playing that way, and so it's one that I'd like to get to the table more often. A lovely bag building game, engine tuning game, Orléans.
Number 72. Cryptid.
Cryptid was in the 70s last time as well. It is a deduction game about trying to track down a monster. There's some sort of cryptid, a cryptozoological creature. And you have been given a particular arrangement of map tiles, and based on the number of players, you've been given a certain clue book that tells you a particular amount of information about where this cryptid is hiding. And you are making guesses based on the map and based on how other people are behaving, and you're trying to take guesses as to where they might be, what the rules are that the other players are operating under. It's delicious and different and really well executed. So if you like deduction games, Cryptid at number 72 is well worth a look.
Number 71. Root.
Finishing off this chunk, I promised some more Kyle Farron art. This is Root, a game of woodland might and right. This is a bit of a war game, an asymmetrical war game actually. Each of the factions in this game works very differently from each other in how they dominate and try and earn points and claim spaces on the board. There's one faction that's just a single vagabond, one character that slips in and out of the woods and sort of, comes in and does his stuff. And then there's another that uses a robo-rally style programming aspect. But the longer they go, they have to keep following those same programs, and eventually that will collapse. They have to start over. So cool. The cutesy presentation, I love the art style. It's just so, it brings you right in to this whole thing. But it belies how deep a game it is. And it is a little tricky to teach because of that asymmetrical nature of the different characters. But there is a lot to explore in here, and I've got an insert in here, so this is actually getting quite heavy as I hold it. It's one that I have not even attempted with my kids yet. This is an adult game group thing at the moment, but I think maybe down the line my eldest might like to go head to head with me in Root, which is why it's number 71. I'm fine. All good. We'll see you next time.
Every summer, top 100. Every summer, top 100. Every summer, top 100. Every summer, top 100. Yeah.
Okay, I really do need to get this off of me. This is just freaking heavy. All right.